Be Creative Crafts, and welcome back to part 3 of Jericho. So y'all, what we are going to be learning to do today is we are going to learn how to start our second row of color block. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a join as you go method. So we're going to, this is the last row that we did here in part 2. We finished up right here. And so now we're ready to start the color block section, which we are going to be working this way, just like we did for our first color block section. So I'm going to show you how we're going to join it as we go to create row 2 of color block. Now, as you see this one here, I'm doing in 3 colors. Right now, all of my rectangles are in this claret color. This is Red Heart Super Saver, gray, claret, and then black. My first one. Okay, but let me grab the project that we are currently working on using 6 colors and let's get started. Okay, y'all, so let us do the chainless single crochet foundation row for this blanket. Chainless single crochet to start lets us in the color block row ready to repeat part 2. So now ordinarily when you do your chainless single crochet, you're going to work it up, and then when you come back down, this will be your top. The way we're going to do it, we're actually going to work on the bottom side, but that's okay. I'm going to show you how to do it. It's going to be easy, I promise. First thing we're going to do is we're going to chain 1. Insert your hook into the first single crochet of the row and draw up a loop. So now you have 2 loops on the hook. Now you're going to yarn over and pull through the first loop only. So this is basically going to be your chain. So now you're back to having 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through both loops. Now you have just made a single crochet. So there is what would ordinarily be your first single crochet, and then this is the single crochet on the bottom. So you're going to take your hook, go into both legs or both little V sections of that single crochet, draw up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, chain 1, yarn over, pull through both loops. Now you've made 2 single crochets. So you've got your 2 little V's on this side, and you've got 2 little V's on this side. Go into the little V's of the last one you made, pull up a loop, and then you're going to pull through the first loop or chain 1, yarn over, and pull through 2. So now you've made 3 single crochets. So now we're going to go a little faster. So there are your 2 V's. Insert your hook there, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. And you're going to make 13 of these. And that counts as your first row of 13 single crochets. So you can turn it over here and see. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On this side, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, as I was saying, if you were doing just a regular chainless single crochet, your yarn is here. So you're working it this way. So that would be your top, and this would be your bottom. The way we're doing it is this is gonna be your top row, but that's fine because we're gonna work into these when we go to do our border. So continue that on. So we've got 5, we're gonna do 13. So I just finished up the 13th one. Let me just double check. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 13. And now, like I was saying, ordinarily you would chain one, turn, and this would be where you would work your yarn, go in. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to chain one, and you're going to work a single crochet back in that first, or in that last single crochet that you did. If you need to count it back, so 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be this one right here. It's going to look like maybe this, but this is the side of your single crochet. That's why I say go ahead, count it back. So you just did your chain one. Now you're going to insert your hook in that first stitch and work a single crochet. And then you're going to single crochet in each of those stitches all the way back across, and that is your second row of single crochet for your color block. When you're done, you should have 13 single crochet stitches. And if you look right here, you can see where to put your hook. Your stitches should be fairly easy to see once you get going. Okay, that should be 13. Let's just double check here. Oh, I counted my chain. Don't count your chain one. Let's make you look like that. There we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now what we're going to do is in the second stitch, you're going to slip stitch. The second stitch of part 2, I should say. Slip stitch. Now what I do is I go ahead and pull that tight because I don't want to mistake that for a stitch. Then you're going to go into the third stitch, or the next stitch on part 2 here, and you're going to slip stitch. Now this one you don't want to pull too tight. That's just to get our next row attached to the blanket. So don't pull that one tight. Like this one where you slip stitch to end the row, go ahead and pull it tight. This one, leave it kind of loose. Turn. That was your chain one turn, okay? So now we're going to go back into this first stitch that we just made, and we're going to start our Suzette stitch section. So we're going to do 3 rows of Suzette stitch. So that was your single crochet and a double crochet right into that same stitch. Skip a stitch into the next one, work a single and a double. Skip a stitch into the next one, work a single and a double. Skip, single, double. Continue that all the way across until you have 2 stitches left. And this part is just like we've already done in all the rows before us for the small rectangle section. Okay, we have 2 stitches left. Remember, this here is your chain one from the row below, so just from where we chained and started working, so don't count that one. So we're going to skip a stitch into this last stitch, work a single crochet, chain one, and turn. Now as your blanket grows, it may be harder to turn it this way. So here's what I suggest. Take your hook out, turn your work, take your yarn to the back, pick up your loop. Okay, so now we're going to just do the Suzette stitch. Row again, single crochet and double crochet in that same stitch, that first single. Skip a stitch. In the next one, work a single and a double, and you're going to do that all the way back across. And this is row 2 of the sedge. I'm doing it again. Row 2 of the Suzette stitch. Oh my gosh, y'all. Why do I keep calling it sedge? Suzette stitch. Okay, I'm coming up to the end of the row. So I've done my single, my half double here, or my double crochet. Now I have 1 stitch or 2 stitches left. Skip this one. We're going to slip stitch. We're going to do a single crochet. And then now we're going to slip stitch into the next open single crochet from part 2. Since this is a joining row, go ahead and pull that stitch tight. All that's doing is attaching your rows. And you don't want that to be mistaken as another stitch. So that's what you're getting so far, and it's joining it as we go. Okay, so we've done 2 rows of Suzette, so we need to go ahead and do 1 more. So in this next stitch here, slip stitch up. Leave that stitch as your chain 1 size. Turn your work into your first single crochet, work a single and a double. Skip a stitch, single, double, all the way across until you have 2 stitches remaining. Then you will skip 1 and work a single crochet in that last stitch of the row. And this will complete the 3rd row of Suzette. Chain 1. Like I said, you can turn your entire work this way, or you can just take your hook out, turn your work, make sure you take your working yarn to the back. And now you're going to work a single crochet in each stitch all the way across. You should still have 13 stitches, so you should have 13 single crochets. Slip stitch into the next open single crochet from part 2. Whoops. Pull it tight. Slip stitch into the next stitch, which is your chain 1. And then work a single crochet in each stitch all the way across. And there we have just started, or we have just completed. Let me take my hook out here, place the stitch marker in here just so I don't pull back out what I've just done. But now you've just done your first section of color block as join as you go. And there's your back side. And now we're ready to do a large rectangle. So if y'all are following along with me and my color choices, you are going to want to change off to color number 2. If you are watching part 3, if you are watching the second repeat of part 3, you will change off to color number 5. And if you are watching the third repeat, you will change off to color number 1. If you are watching the 4th repeat, you will change off to color number 5. Okay, I've changed over to my color number 2 here. Okay, so we are going to chain 1 and turn. In each stitch all the way across, we are going to work a single crochet. Now this stitch sequence is going to be the same as our large rectangle that we did in part 1. So we're going to do 2 rows of single crochet. Into the next open single crochet from part 2, work a slip stitch and pull it tight. In the next single crochet from part 2, slip stitch, which is also acting as your chain 1. Do not pull that one tight, and turn. And work another row of single crochets all the way across. You should still have a stitch count of 13. one and turn. And now we're going to work 4 rows of the Suzette stitch. So single, double in the same stitch, skip a stitch, single, double, continue this all the way across. I'll meet back up with you where we do the join. Okay, I'm right here to the end of my row. I'm going to do my final single crochet of the row. Then I'm going to go into the next open stitch, the next single crochet, and slip stitch. And so I've just joined that row. Okay, let's go into the next stitch, slip stitch. Now, if y'all see me pulling it, I'm not pulling it hard. I'm just pulling it to the height of a normal single crochet. Turn. And then you're going to work another row of Suzette stitch. So in this first single, work your single crochet and your double crochet. Skip a stitch. In the next one, work a single and a double. All right, you're going to repeat the Suzette to where you have 4 rows total. So we are on row 2, so go ahead and repeat that for rows 3 and 4, and I will meet back up with you. Okay, just finished up row 4 of the Suzette stitch. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn, and then you're going to work 2 more rows of the single crochet, 4 rows of Suzette. You're going to repeat this until you have 4 sections. So repeat this 3 times. So single crochet, just like we did in part 1 for the large rectangle. I'm going to stop right here for a second and show you what it's looking like. So there is what we've got for the front side, or our current front side. And this is what it's looking like on the back. So check it out. So we've got these little, what I think kind of resemble a quilter's stitch marker. Look at that. The little stitch marks. I said stitch marker. That's in crochet. But it looks like the stitch marks that you get when quilting. So I think that's kind of cool. That's a cool little feature that you'll be able to see. They'll always be on the back. Because if you're looking at our chart here, you will always, so I mean, if you want, this can be your front side. It doesn't have to be your back. But every time we start a row, if you're looking at the chart, we're always starting here. So, of the color block. Every time we start a row of color block, we're always starting here. And then after we do our row of mortar, it puts us back down here. So we go, we work, we end here, we start our mortar rows, doop, 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 doop. It brings us back down here, where we work up and down, 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 and we end back up here. So all of our color block sections are starting down here. So yeah, so all of our little stitchy marks will be on one side. All right, y'all, continue on with the large rectangle. So I've just finished up 2 rows of single. So now I'm going to do 4 rows of Suzette, which would give me 2 sections. Then I'm going to repeat it 2 more times. So 2 rows of single, 4 rows of Suzette. Okay, and I will meet back up with you after you finish that part. And as I mentioned earlier, it's very handy if you have a stitch counter or a row counter. I like to use this poppet. All right, y'all, I have just finished up my 3rd repeat, which is my 4th section. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know if y'all can see, but there's my single crochet rows. So they really define, so I can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn, and to complete our, oh, let me untwist it here. There we go. Bring you back to the back. So to complete our large rectangle, we're going to do 2 rows of single crochet. Untwist everything here. There we go. Whoa, I split that yarn. Hold up. Let's back up. Okay, at the end of this row of single crochet, you will have 26 rows of the large rectangle. And in this row, you should have a total of 33 rows so far. So that's 26 for the large rectangle plus the 7 from the small rectangle. Okay, so we are going to, here I am at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and switch off to my color number 6, or whatever color y'all have chosen to use for your mortar. Remember, every time you do a small single or a small rectangle or a long row of mortar, these will be the same color. These are your separation. This is your main, this is your neutral color that ties everything together. But this is your mortar section. So we're getting ready to switch off. We're going to do a small rectangle. Now, one thing you will notice with your small rectangles, and this is, you'll be able to use this kind of as a guide to see if you are ending on the right spot. Like if you follow across, now we're getting ready to start another section of small rectangles. So like right here, you'll see that your small rectangles will form a straight line. One will be above, one will be below, above, below. But that, you will be able to see a line go up the center of your blanket here every time you do a small rectangle. So it will line up. So at the end of this one, here, let's do it this way because we're here. So we just finished right here. So we're getting ready to start a rectangle, a small rectangle, which is going to line up with this rectangle that we did in part 1. It's going to offset. It's not going to be side by side, but it's going to be up. So if you are starting your rectangle and you're down here, then you know you have missed a row or two if you're finishing in the center. So on this particular one, every time you get ready, on this particular row, every time you get ready to start a small rectangle, if you just follow across, you will see that you should be the next row up from where your last one ended, from the part before it. Now once we get to part 3, no, we're on part 3. Once we get to part 4, it'll be the opposite. Once you finish a row, it'll line up. Jumping ahead of myself. That's for part 4. But just for part 3, when you get ready to start, that will be this will kind of be like your guide. When you get ready to start your small rectangle, if you look across, let me turn it so it matches the side that we're just on. Flip it back over. You'll see it here. Like right here is where it ended. So now we're at the same spot. So we know that we are in the right, our stitch count is correct. We are on track. So now we're getting ready to start our next color block section of the small rectangle. So go ahead, change your yarn off back to your, for me, it's color number 6. Your neutral, your mortar color, go ahead and change off to that, and I will meet y'all up in just a second. Okay, I've changed off to my mortar color. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Now remember, every time you get to a small rectangle or a mortar section, the stitch repeat, the stitch sequence is the same. You're going to work 2 rows of single crochet. You should have 13 single crochets at the end of your first row here. Slip stitch into the next single crochet open from part 2. In the next single crochet, slip stitch, turn, then go ahead and work another row of single crochet. So 2 rows of single, chain 1, and then work 3 rows of Suzette. So you'll start out with a single crochet and a double crochet in the same stitch. Skip a stitch, single, and a double. Okay, work 3 rows of the Suzette stitch, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the 3rd row. Okay, I just finished up my 3rd row of Suzette, so I'm slip stitch into join, slip stitching in the next stitch to form my chain, turn, and then work 2 rows of single crochet. Your stitch count should still be 13 single crochets going across. Okay, at the end of this row, you're going to change off to color number, whoops, my chart's upside down. I was like, wait a minute. There we go. Okay, we're going to change off to color number 1. If you are watching the first repeat and you are doing the, or if you're watching part 3 for the first time, change off to color number 1. Okay, if you are watching part 3 for your second repeat, you will switch off to color number 4. If you're watching it for the 3rd repeat, you will switch off to color number 2. And if you're watching it for the 4th repeat, you will go with color number 4. Okay, so I'm on my first repeat this time. So I'm going to switch off to color number 1. Okay, so let me show y'all this. I didn't tell y'all because we ended on the other end. So I'm going to change my color, then I'm going to slip stitch and do my chain. All right. Did I show y'all? I can't remember if I showed y'all this already. Some of the knots you can see. Some you can't see at all. They are very well hidden. Let's see. Is that a knot there? See, they're just really blended in well. If you don't want your knots to show at all, then you're going to want to weave in your tails instead of doing the hybrid weaver's knot or a magic knot. These I think are hidden fairly well, but just, you know, keep that in mind. That's a, you know, a personal preference. And different yarns will show your joins differently, so you may want to adjust it based on the yarn you are using. Where's my other one? Like this one, let's see here. Like some of the knots on this one you can really see, but then again, some of them are hidden quite well by the stitch from the row below. Like that one you can see, and that one you can see, but some of them are hidden within the stitch. So just keep that in mind of how you want to join your yarn. And this is a great project too, to where if you want to practice different ways to join your yarn to see which one you like, go ahead, because there are a lot of color changes. So this would be a great time to practice different methods of joining the yarn and switching colors. Okay, so go ahead and switch off to, like I said, we are on the, we're on part 3, first repeat. We're going to color number 1. If you are on your second repeat, go to color number 4. Third repeat, color 2. Fourth repeat, color 4. All right, I'll be back. All right, so I've slip stitched, I've joined that row. Now I'm going to slip stitch in the next single crochet available from part 2, which is also acting as our chain 1. Then I'm going to turn my work and work 2 rows of single crochet. Now we are starting in on a square section. So every square section will be worked in the same stitch sequence, which is going to be 2 rows of single crochet, 4 rows of Suzette, 1 row of single crochet, 4 rows of Suzette, and then you end it off with 2 rows of single crochet. Your stitch count should still be 13 stitches per row. Okay, so I've just finished row 1. So we're going to chain 1 and turn. Again, I am turning mine by going back and forth instead of flipping my whole blanket, because as the blanket grows, it is going to be more difficult to turn it that way. And it also makes it easier to turn sitting at this desk. So then I'm going to work another row of single. So you should have 2 rows of single crochet. Okay, I'm coming back up to the blanket where I need to join. So going into that next single crochet from part 2, we're going to slip stitch. Go into the next one, slip stitch again, turn our work, and now we're going to work 4 rows of Suzette. So single and a double in that first stitch, skip a stitch, work a single and a double, skip a stitch all the way across, and you will end the row with a single crochet. Okay, here I'm at the end of the row, work my single crochet, chain 1, turn. I'm going to work 3 more rows of the Suzette for a total of 4, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the 4th row. Okay, I just finished up my 4th row of Suzette. Let's slip stitch to join the row in the next single, chain 1, or slip stitch into the next single crochet, which counts as our chain 1, turn. This time we're going to work 1 row of single crochet. Your stitch count should still be 13. And why am I telling y'all that every time we get to a single crochet row? Because that is the easiest row to count your stitches and make sure that your stitch count is still on point. So I've just done 2. Yahoo! I'm still good. All right, y'all. Now we're going to chain 1, turn, and work 4 more rows of Suzette. Again, that is single and a double in the same stitch, skip 1, single and double in the same stitch, skip 1, all the way across, skip 1, single crochet in that final stitch of the row. All right, I will meet back up with y'all after you finish your 4 rows of Suzette. Okay, I've just finished up my 4 rows of Suzette. Chain 1 and turn. Move a little stitchy marker because he's making noise. All right, and now we're going to work 2 rows of single crochet. And I still have 13 stitches, so woohoo! Slip stitch to join it to the work. and then slip stitch into the next open single crochet and turn, and then do one more row of single crochet. After this row, you're going to switch back or do another color change, and you're going to go back to color number 6 or whatever color you have chosen to use for your mortar. We're getting ready to do another small rectangle section, so the stitches will be the same as it was down here for this one. So go ahead, change off to color number 6 or whatever color you have chosen to use for your mortar. And that is now we have completed all of the stitch sequences that we need to do for this row. So what you're going to do is you're going to repeat. You're going to repeat your small rectangle. Then you're going to repeat your large rectangle. Then your small rectangle, your square again, small rectangle, and then you'll end the row with a large rectangle. But I will meet back up with you before you get ready to get started on your next rectangle. So go ahead, change off to color number 6 and work another small rectangle. If you have forgotten the stitch sequence, you can back it up, or I'll go ahead and tell you what it is now. You're going to do 2 rows of single crochet, 3 rows of Suzette, and then 2 rows of single crochet. And I will meet back up with you after you finish your next section here of the small rectangle. All right, moving on to the large rectangle section. If you are watching part 3 for the first go round, you are going to switch off to your color number 5. Switch off to color 5 for this section. If you are watching the second repeat, you will go with color number 1. If you are watching the third repeat, you will go with color number 3. And if you are watching the fourth repeat, you will be going with color number 1. Okay, so let's slip stitch, let's see here, to our next open single crochet. But before we get going, let's lay it out here. And y'all can see that we are still, actually you can't see, let me zoom you back out here. There we go. You can see that we are still on, let me move my hook over here. Turn the blanket this way. There we go. You can see here that we are still straight across here, forming a line. Okay. Moving on. My blanket's getting fiddly here. Okay, so we've just slip stitched to join. Now we need to slip stitch in the next single crochet from part 2, which forms our faux chain 1 to turn. And then you just work your rectangle section like we did before. So you're going to work 2 rows of single, 4 rows of Suzette. Repeat that 3 more times for a total of 4 sections. Then you will end the row with, or you will end this section with 2 rows of single crochet. So go ahead, do 2 rows of single, 4 rows of Suzette, and then repeat. So here's a little tip, trick, advice for y'all while working this particular blanket. Keep track of the rows, because each color block row that I am doing is taking me several hours, about 4 to 5 hours per color block row, depending upon what's going on around me. So keep track of the number of rows, because you don't want to get to the end of the row here to find out that you've missed a row somewhere along the way. Can you fudge it? Probably, but in order for it to lay and for all of your colors to line up like you want them to, it's very important to keep track of your rows. That is why I suggest you use a row counter or a pop-it toy or just a piece of paper to keep track of your rows. And now I'm going to end this section with 2 rows of single crochet. And that will complete my large rectangle. All right, y'all, I've just finished up the large rectangle section in part 3. So I'm going to go ahead and change off back to my color number 6, or whatever color you are using for your mortar and all of your small rectangles. Okay, I've changed off to my mortar color. Now I'm going to slip stitch to join that row, chain 1, turn. Okay, so now we're going to repeat the small rectangle section. So for that, you will work 2 rows of single crochet, 3 rows of the Suzette stitch, and then 2 rows of single crochet. No matter which repeat of part 3 that you are on, you should always be working your small rectangles in your main mortar color. So it doesn't matter which repeat you're on, you will be on the same color. Okay, here I am finishing up. There's my 13th stitch. Fold this out here. And you will see that we are still on the right spot. We've just finished up over here on part 1. If you go across right here, now we're starting our next section of the short rectangle. This is always a really good point to check your work and make sure that you are staying on the correct stitch. Okay. All right, so now let's see, we've just done our 2 rows of single crochet. So we're going to slip stitch to join the row, slip stitch to the next single to form our chain, turn, work 3 rows of Suzette. So again, that is just your single crochet and your double crochet in the same stitch. Skip a stitch, single and double all the way across, ending each row of Suzette with a single crochet. Go ahead, work 3 rows, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the 3rd row. Okay, I just finished up my 3rd row of Suzette. Now I'm going to work 2 rows of single crochet. Remember, go ahead, count as you go across to make sure you still have a stitch count of 13. Do 2 rows of single crochet, and I will meet back up with you at the end of your 2nd row. Okay, I just finished up my 2nd row, finished up my small rectangle, and now we're getting ready to go into another square. So if you are watching part 3 on the first go round, you are going to switch off to color number 3. Again, this is if you are following with my color palette. Use whichever color palette you have chosen, but we are getting ready to make another color block square. First repeat of part 3, you are going to switch off to color number 3. If you are watching the 2nd repeat, you are going to switch off to color number 2. If you are watching the 3rd repeat, you will switch off to color number 4. And if you are watching the 4th repeat, you will switch off to color number 2. All right. I am going to switch off now to my color number 3. And we'll get ready to get started on the square section. Okay, I've switched off to my color number 3. I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. It's gotten heavy, or it's getting heavier, and not ideal sitting at my desk here to keep it all contained to where it's off screen, but also not falling off of the desk. There we go. Okay, for the square, you can rerun. You can take the video back to where we did our last square, or I'm going to go ahead and give you the stitch sequence that you're going to need to do. So you will do 2 rows of single crochet, 4 rows of the Suzette, 1 row of single crochet, 4 rows of Suzette, followed by 2 rows of single crochet. I will meet back up with you at the end of your square. All right, y'all, I just finished up my square. Now I'm going to switch off to my color number 6, which is the color I'm using for every small rectangle and my mortar rows. So I'm going to switch off to color number 6 and I'll be right back. All right, I've joined my color number 6. So now I'm going to slip stitch to join my last row to the blanket. I'm going to slip stitch in the next available single crochet from part 2 to create my chain 1, and then I'm going to turn my work. If I can keep my blanket from not falling in the floor. There we go. And now I'm going to repeat my small rectangle, which is going to be 2 rows of single crochet, 3 rows of Suzette, and 2 rows of single crochet. Now y'all, I did go ahead and film up each individual section. So like if you need to, if you just want to watch how to do the small rectangle, I do have short videos available in the playlist of how to do just a small rectangle row, or how to do just the square, or how to do the large rectangle. And then of course the mortar row is part 2. So there's my 1 row of single, chain 1, turn. Flip my blanket back around here, get my yarn back where it needs to be, pick up my loop. And then I'm going to work my 2nd row of single crochet. I hope y'all are enjoying this tutorial. This one is a bit longer than my others because I designed this blanket. I had a vision in my mind, and in order for it to work out, it just, because let me move this hook out of the way. I really wanted a textured fabric that would mimic quilting, and I wanted it to not be huge. So I went with the Suzette because it worked out with my stitch count. And I feel like it's given this really cool kind of quilted look. But that's why I did what I did. But I hope y'all are enjoying it. Okay, so I just finished up my 2nd row of singles, slip stitch in the next single crochet, turn, and then work 3 rows of the Suzette, which is a single and a double in the same stitch. Skip a stitch, single and a double all the way across until you have 2 stitches remaining, and then skip a stitch and work a single crochet in that last stitch of the row. Go ahead and do the Suzette section 3 times, or the Suzette row 3 times, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the 3rd row. All right, I've just finished my 3rd row of Suzette stitch, chain 1, turn my work, and now I'm going to work 2 rows of single crochet, and I will meet back up with you at the end of the 2nd row of single crochet to let you know what color you need to switch off to for the last large rectangle. All right, there we go. I have just finished up my last row of single crochet of my small rectangle section, and we are ready to do our last large rectangle of part 3. All right, So, ladies and gents, if you are watching part 3, the first go round, you are going to switch off to color number 4. Now, one thing you should remember, I think I told y'all in part 1, but I'm going to tell you again because I know I haven't told you on this one. If you were using 6 colors like I am, you will use each one of your each one of your bright colorful skeins of yarn. You will use each one of those one time in each color block row, and you will have 5. You will use your color number 6, your 6th color, 5 times. You will have 5 small rectangles, but you will use each of your other colors one time per color block row. Okay, so if you were watching this on the first go round, you are going to be switching off to color number 4. If you are on the second repeat, you are going to be using color number 3. If you are on the third repeat, you are going to change off to color number 5. And if you are on the fourth repeat, you are going to change off to color number 3. And that is if you are using the same color layout that I am. All right, so I am going to switch off to my color number 4, and I'll meet right back up with y'all. All right, y'all, I am at the end here. As I said, we are ready to do our last color block, which is a large rectangle. Now, I've laid this out here. You should have 26 single crochets remaining from part 2. So you can go ahead and count them out. So let's see. 4, 25, 26. So yahoo! I have managed to keep my stitch count the way it needs to be. Now, y'all, if you counted that up and you only have 25, it's not the end of the world, and you don't have to frog back your entire project. Just, at some point, you're just going to want to slip stitch and join the next row in the same stitch. I know it's going to make it a little squished up, but you can fudge it just a little bit, okay? Now, if you have, same thing, if you have 27 instead of 26, then you're just going to want to, when you slip stitch, I would suggest, you're just going to slip stitch 2 together at some point along the row. That's just if you need to fudge it. So, y'all, you should have 26 single crochets left going across here. And that will give you to where you can work your 26 rows of your last color block, your large rectangle. So here we go. I've got mine here. Let me take my little stitch marker out. Chain 1 and turn. So for your large rectangle, your stitch sequence is 2 rows of single crochet, 4 rows of Suzette, and then you repeat that 3 times. So you do 2 rows of single, 4 rows of Suzette until you have 4 complete sections. Then you will end it with a row or 2 rows of single crochet. Then I'm going to slip stitch to the next one to mimic my chain 1, turn. So 2 rows of single crochet, 4 rows of the Suzette, so single, double, skip 1, single, double, all the way across, end each row with a single crochet. You'll do 4 rows of the Suzette stitch, and then you will repeat that sequence 3 more times, so that you will have a total of 4 sections of 2 rows of single crochet, 4 rows of Suzette, and then you will end the large rectangle with 2 rows of single crochet. I will meet back up with you at the end of this large rectangle color block. All right, I'm finishing up on my last 2 rows of single crochet on the last large rectangle of part 3, which is also the last 2 rows of part 3. So yay! All right, so y'all, after you finish your large rectangle, you will change off to color number 6, which is your mortar color, or whatever color you're using for mortar. For me, it's my color number 6 for this particular one. Now, I will suggest, if you are not doing the magic knot as your join for your color changes and you have not yet done it, I would suggest you go ahead and weave in all of your tails, because if y'all are like me, weaving in my tails is such a pain in the hiney, and it's like a big chore. So if you do it as you go along, it doesn't make it seem nearly as bad. So at the end of each part, if you have not yet woven in your tails, go ahead and do that. And one more stitch. Yahoo, yahoo. We are done with part 3. I'm going to grab a stitch marker. There we go. Okay, so that is part 3 done in the books, y'all. Woohoo! So part 1 was where we did our first color block. Part 2 is where we do our mortar row. Part 3 is the first color sequence of joining as you go for this color block row. So now y'all need to go back and repeat part 2. Go back and do another row of the mortar. Just a little quick recap. That is a single crochet in the end of each row going all the way across. So for your large rectangles, that will be 26 single crochets, 7 single crochets in the end of your short rectangle, 13 single crochets at the end of each square section. Then here we are back to a small rectangle, so 7, 26 single crochets in a large rectangle, and do that all the way across to the end. Then you will chain 1 turn, do another row of single crochet, 3 rows of Suzette, 2 rows of single crochet, and then you will be ready for part 4. So let's just do a little quick view, of what we got going on here. What we did in part 3, we did a small rectangle, a large rectangle, a small rectangle, a square, a small rectangle, a large rectangle, small rectangle, square, small rectangle, and we ended with a large rectangle. And I think these colors are looking fabulous together. I'm really liking them. Let's put you here so we can see more of the colors. I think they're looking really well together. I don't even hate these two together. I was afraid I wasn't going to like these two together, but I'm liking how it's all working up in the color, in the blanket, in the quilt. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, be creative, and until next time, happy crafting. Bye!